Good morning, everybody. It's another beautiful day here at Camp Crazy. Quite nice. Look at the sun shining back there. It's pretty good. Anyway, I don't doubt that this video I'm about to make here is going to draw some negativity. And I don't doubt that I'm going to attract a few trolls and people who will say, well, where there's smoke, there's fire. And on like that. All I can tell you is there isn't always fire where there's smoke. The situation I'm about to describe to you, there wasn't any fire, but there was plenty of smoke. And the smoke surrounded me in the form of false accusations. And I was actually forced to leave my hometown because of false accusations. After many years of being targeted on the basis of things that people thought about me that weren't true. Basically, what happened with me is I was regarded as simple-minded, and I suppose there's some truth to that, you know. I was regarded as weak, and maybe there's truth to that too, I don't know, but I was regarded as simple-minded and weak, and so in my hometown, I attracted predators. I attracted bullies, thieves, other people like that, people who weren't sure of themselves, so wanted to, to dominate another person in order to be above somebody or whatever, you know, and they'll target people they consider weak. If they think you're intellectually weak or physically weak or both, then they will dominate you, or they'll try to at least. Now, in my case, I wasn't having it, and I would fight back. I'd retaliate. I'd make it clear that that wasn't going to play with me, and in my world, that was not going to be acceptable. Well, it wound up that I had to fight different people physically, different men. I got into verbal altercations with people. There was all kinds of bad stuff happened. And, you know, some of them found out that I wasn't as weak as they thought I was. And they'd targeted me in air. And then, of course, people are proud. People don't want to admit that they did bad. And they'll hate you because you now have beat them at their own game, and they'll hate you for that. And one thing I found about people is if somebody hates you, it's just not enough for them to hate you. They need for other people to validate their hatred by joining in with them in their hatred of you. Now, if they were sitting around the beer parlor and they said, oh yeah, that Tom Fournier, you know, I went after him and I bullied him and he stood up to me. Well, people would say good for him and shame on you for doing that. Any reasonable person would. But if they say that Tom Fournier, you know, he's a diddler. He likes to touch children. He's a pedophile. He's a rapist. Well then, all of a sudden, that changes the complexion of things quite a bit. People will say, he is? Oh my God, what a creep. I hate him. And I hope that everybody here hates him too, if he's like that. Like, we can't have people like that around, you know, and then the ball gets rolling. And this is what happened with me anyway. Rumors got spread by people with malicious intent, and then it got out into the community, and then the rumors were even spread by good people with good intentions. Because, of course, if you think that you've got a pedophile in your midst, you're going to feel obligated to warn people. That's just natural. You know, you're going to do that. You know, you don't want somebody like that around your kids and so on. So, of course, you'd feel guilty if you didn't. Imagine if I was that way and they didn't warn anybody, they knew about it and they didn't say anything, and then I did something to a child. And they could have protected that child just by opening their mouth and telling people. So of course they're going to spread the rumor. And what happened was, it was believed pretty much universally. There were very few people in the town that didn't believe that of me. There were a few that didn't, but they, like I say, they were few and far between. And I got targeted. I was getting jumped on the street by men who wanted to beat me up to punish me for being a pedophile. I was asked to leave public places because, parents were uncomfortable with my presence there because they thought I might be there looking at their kids as potential victims. My car was vandalized. I had cars that were all smashed to hell on the street at night, egged. I had the word rapist and pedo and pedophile scratched into my paint and written all over my car with marker, magic marker and stuff. I had paint thrown on my car. All kinds of stuff happened anyway. And, the police were of no help. The police were crooked. And some of the police were some of the ones that had targeted me because they figured I was weak. And so I was at war with them. And they were of no help at all. They'd charged me for driving around with my car damaged from the vandalism, but they wouldn't do anything about the vandalism. That's what I was up against in my hometown. Now, my hometown is known by people around Ontario, Canada. I seen it on Facebook different times. People refer to Perth, Ontario as Bastardville. And it's known as a town where the people aren't very friendly, where they're kind of standoffish and stuff. And again, that's not every single person. There are good, decent, friendly people in Perth. It's just that, generally speaking, it's a pretty rough place. In many ways it is. It's a tough place, It's an old money town. If you're poor, you're really not welcome there, and you will be targeted. If you're seen to be weak in any way, you'll be targeted, you'll be bullied, and you're expected to know your place. And if you're like me and you think that you have as much value about you as anyone, and you won't put up with it, well, then you're going to be gossiped about, things are going to be said about you, you're going to be targeted in different ways, you're going to be robbed, beaten, have your property vandalized. All kinds of stuff's going to happen to you. Anyway, here's the thing, with all that being said, it's just a small town of 6,000 people, and it's actually quite a pretty town. It's an historic town, In many ways, it's a nice place. But there is an atmosphere there that pervades it, just like a lot of small towns have. A high school mentality. Most of the people of my generation who were able to get out did. And the few who stayed, many of them only stayed because they were on drugs and didn't have any options. There's very few people stayed in the area and were able to make a go of it, And that's just the way the place is. Anyway, for the record, I'm not a pedophile. There's nothing weird about me sexually. I'm actually pretty vanilla. I'm just a regular straight guy. I'm attracted to women, much to my detriment. It hasn't worked out very well for me being attracted to women because they don't be attracted to me. So it's a pretty tough thing when things are always one-sided, But I've never been tempted to resort to anything else. I don't have any inclination then to say, well, women don't want me, so I'll go after children, or so maybe I'll become a homosexual, or whatever. That's never been a thing with me. I just keep beating my head against the wall, going down the same road with different women and having it turn out badly, that's all. Because, unfortunately, that part of us is pretty strong, and it's hard to just ignore it. But I'm working on it. I understand that women don't want me, and so I'm working on it. And I've gotten to the point where I've had enough bad experiences with women that I'm finding it hard to really like women as people a lot of the time. So I'm physically attracted to women, but I don't like women very much at this point. Just because being the way that they generally are. And again, I'm making generalizations here. I'm not saying every single woman is like that, but a lot of them I found have been really nasty, really mean in a lot of ways. And I see women oftentimes reward bad behavior. Like they'll actually go with the man who treats them badly, and they'll shun the man who treats them well. I don't know why they do that, but it's something that seems, in my observation, this is just what I've noticed, it seems to be a common thing with females. And I don't like that about women. And it stands to reason I wouldn't like it about them, because it leaves me out in the cold. Anything that works to your disadvantage, you're not going to like. It stands to reason. But here's the thing. Regardless of all that, and regardless of my bad history with women, and there is a bad history there between myself and women, and probably some of it is my fault, even though I don't really understand it, so I can't tell you exactly how it's my fault, and I've spent a lot of time analyzing it, and I still don't really understand it. But what I will say, I guess maybe because I don't play the game that a man is required to play to be with a woman. I don't even really know how to play that game, and I don't really have a desire to. So maybe that part of it is my fault. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. I'm not a pedophile. I didn't deserve all that shit that was done to me in my hometown. And I can tell you right now, the police hated me. The police were really corrupt, and they hated me because I stood up to them too. And the thing is, if I had been doing creepy things with kids, they'd have caught me, because they used to follow me around and watch me and look for reasons to charge me. I couldn't get away with anything. I drove a car one time with an expired license plate for 2 days, and they caught me. I knew people that drove on expired plates for 5 years. There was one guy I knew drove a truck on expired plates for 5 years, and how he got caught was he got into a car accident at a four-way stop. Somebody ran through the four-way stop and T-boned him, and that's how he got caught. So, right there, like I say, if I had been doing anything illegal, they'd have caught me. And they'd have been happy to catch me. They wanted to catch me doing illegal things. They went out of their way to catch me. I don't know how many dollars of taxpayer money was devoted to catching me doing illegal things. And like I say, they very seldom ever caught me doing anything. And the few things they caught me doing were just stupid things, like I say, driving on an expired plate, 2 days after the plate expired. Walking through the public park at night after 10 o'clock, because there's a rule that says you can't be in the park after 10 o'clock. And I cut across the park, and they caught me doing that. This is the kind of stuff they used to catch me doing. They never caught me doing anything altogether serious, and they certainly never caught me for a sex crime, which they would have loved to do. They'd have been hoping that the other inmates in the prison would finish me off. So they'd have been perfectly happy to send me to prison with bad charges so that I could be killed by my fellow inmates and I would no longer be an issue for them. So, no, I would have been caught if I was doing anything like that. And, anybody that would run a background check on me would find that there's no charges of that nature anywhere. There would be. If there could be charges like that, there would be, though. And in 50 some odd years of life, if I was that way, at some point I'd have done something. So anyway, bottom line is, the world we're living in right now, it's very easy to get into a lot of trouble without doing much of anything. And I'm seeing that now, even with all the stuff around political correctness and wokeness and all that. A person expresses an opinion and all kinds of labels get hung on them. All kinds of shit gets thrown at them in the hopes that some of it will stick. And I recognize that when I see it, because I've experienced it in my personal life. Anyway, I had an incident on the channel here within the last couple of days like that, and like I say, all the best to the lady who left the channel, who unsubscribed because she felt she felt there was something going on here that really wasn't. But, because she decided that I'm a hateful person because I didn't condemn another person who she had labeled hateful.